You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me.
What you are about to hear is real. The prophets wrote of a time when the signs of the end would be seen. This is where Bible prophecy and current events collide. This is Unsealed.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Unsealed, the official podcast of Wings of the Eagle. I am Pastor Christopher Manti. Why did I say that way? Because this video may have a lot of views. Hopefully it does, or it may have nothing and a lot of hate mail coming from it, and that's okay too. It's not often that I broach this subject, once every couple of years, it seems, but we are going to revisit the UAP situation, I believe, next week, because there's a big classified meeting going on tomorrow, and some new videos that have come out that are really stunning, and some really cool things to talk about as far as that goes next week, I think. But today, because we're on the cusp of this electoral process beginning yet again, and seems like it never ends in a way because of debates and the news cycle, and people getting charged with crimes and so forth. Seems like it never ends, but here we are. So as someone, I want to address you folks in two ways, coming from, first and foremost, as a Christian brother. And yes, as a pastor, because I know what my words should mean and carry the weight, that I'm fully aware of, the gravity of the situation, and that as a believer, I shouldn't go willy-nilly and say anything, because we know every idle word will be held against us at the judgment. So I understand that. By the same time, though, as someone who has been given a platform and a church to take care of, I do view it as my duty to inform to the best of my ability. And yes, opinions are part of that. But today, what I want this to be mostly is a dispassionate roadmap. It's not going to be why conservative Christians like me should not vote for Donald Trump. It's, if you've already decided that, how do you do it? Because there's many of us, people like myself, we're involved, we're engaged, we know how the process works. We actually dedicate, not anymore, but in years past, I've dedicated many, many hours and my money and my, time with my family to promote and to get people elected. I was in that machinery. I ran a political campaign, a U.S. Senate campaign. I was on several presidential campaigns. So I love America. I do. It's definitely not perfect. That's an understatement. Okay, it's pretty rotten right now. But I still like it, and I do my best to make it the best home I can for not only me and my family, but for everyone who lives here. A place of peace, justice, fair treatment, religious liberty, right? We like that one. Yeah. All that's good. And we want to fight against injustices and things that are evil and wrong, like abortion, like the homosexual agenda, et cetera, that's fine. And then sometimes we've got an extreme situation where people try to take over the government, even though they lost elections. And that's a problem, right? Oh, that's a problem. And it's a double problem when Christians are the ones backing that guy up. So if we determine that this can't happen again, a lot of us are just waiting for November to express that. I want to let you know that you can't wait, because there are things called primaries. Donald Trump hasn't won anything yet. Not one vote since he left office. In fact, he hasn't won anything since 2016. But it's, well, I hear the polls and this and that, and it's a foregone conclusion. No, it is not a foregone conclusion. How you stop him is to make sure he's not on the ballot at all. And I'm not talking about Supreme Court, court decisions keeping him off ballots. I'm talking about you just going to your state's primary and participating in it. This is an American episode today, guys. I'm sorry for any international audience. Unless you want to learn how our process works, welcome. But if not, it's not for you. And if you're not a Christian, this is not for you. And if you're not a conservative Christian, it's not for you. But I have a feeling many of viewers will be. In that category. So I want to let you know how to do it. It's nothing illegal. It's nothing extreme. It's participating in your process. So Chris Christie, for those of you who have been following along, has dropped out of the race as of last night. I thought he was the only real chance electorally to defeat Joe Biden, because I don't want Joe Biden. And by the way, if you're confused or if you have any type of suspicions or any ridiculous statements like GR scuba diver, which I don't even want to show on the screen because I'm going to get angry. I don't want to get angry. Maybe at the end of the show here. But please do ask your question, make your comment, voice your concerns right there in the chat, whether you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or X or Instagram, because we're banned from Facebook again for a month. No, as the disclaimer at the bottom of your screen says, those who are listening on audio only, no, I am not a secret Democrat / liberal / socialist or a Satanist or fake Christian, etc., etc. I never have been those things and never will be. I'm just a conservative Christian who cares about my nation. Okay? So stop it with the accusations and the insinuations. All right. So Chris Christie dropped out of the race. I thought, even though, again, we're not going to do a checkbox of who you think is the greatest candidate and who agrees with all your stuff, because there ain't none of those. There ain't none of those. I'm looking at ahead to a hypothetical. Joe Biden is not very popular. I don't want him in office. But I also want to stop Donald Trump. So what do you do about that? I thought the best chance by far was Chris Christie, because he was telling the truth about Donald Trump, number one. And number two, he was very appealing to Democratic voters. He was a two-term governor in New Jersey. New Jersey is a very Democratic place, very liberal, and I know because I grew up there. There's 25 years of my life I lived in New Jersey, so I know exactly what Chris Christie's about and what the electorate there is like. If Chris Christie were to be the nominee, he would easily defeat Joe Biden. So now we're down to basically two other choices. That Vivek Ramaswamy guy, he's doing this for fun. He's not a serious person. He's never going to win anything. And he knows he won't. So you're down to Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis, I think, would have no chance against Joe Biden because he's too abrasive. The more people, and you're seeing this now, even in the last 2 or 3 months. The more people see of him, the less they like him. He might be fine in Florida for now, but the nation as a whole, other states are not into him. They just don't like him. And I don't like him either. He's kind of slimy. He tries to be mini Trump or whatever, and then the rest of the time he's kind of clueless. And again, he is basing this on his Christianity, which I don't appreciate. Anyways, he will not win versus Joe Biden. Nikki Haley is therefore the last resort. I was at an event with Nikki Haley, actually, in 2012, very local to me. So I have a little history there, and she's okay. I mean, she's a female, she's a minority, right? Those boxes are great for Republicans. But there's no one else. Now, if Christie's gone and DeSantis isn't going to cut it, I think, just my betting odds on this, if you had Joe Biden versus Nikki Haley, she could win. She could win. It's not a lock for sure, but she might. And if she runs the campaign right, there's a pretty good chance. That'll be fine with me. Okay, again, we're going to agree on everything, and she's like the perfect candidate. I don't think that, but all right. So if that's what we're interested in, if we're really interested in beating Joe Biden, Haley's your best chance. To this day, Donald Trump is deeply unpopular among people who are not his fanatics. If you don't already love him, you're not going to vote for him. He will lose to Joe Biden. Believe it or not. Because he lost once. He'll lose again. Again, it's not that anyone loves Joe Biden and wants to vote for him. They really don't. Even his own party doesn't want him, but there's no other alternative. And it's too late now in the process. I mean, literally too late. You have to have your name put on ballots in a legal way. You can't just announce I'm out and another person's in. It's not like the president dies and the vice president automatically takes over. If you don't want to run, you got to drop out and give them, whoever it is, time to replace you in the party. Anyways, apparently not going to happen. Okay. So how do you stop Donald Trump? In the best, easiest, pain-free way possible is to get out to whatever state you live in. And if you are a registered Republican, I don't know if you know what it means to be registered, because in a general election, you don't have to be registered as anything. You just have to be a registered voter. You don't have to declare a party. So, nope, your average person doesn't think about that. But if you are registered as a Republican, you can vote in your state's Republican primary, and every state will have one. Or they call it a caucus sometimes because of the way they operate it. But it's just a vote. To say, I say this person is the best one for my party to represent, our party in November, right? So before November ever gets here, you have to elect the guy who's going to be, or gal, who's going to be your nominee. So that's the point we're at now. Iowa is going to start this thing in 5 days. 4 days. Monday night. That process will begin, and then New Hampshire will be a couple days after that, and then South Carolina will be a couple days after that, and off we go. And every state, including territories like Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., they all have primaries. Anyways, that's what you can do personally. If you don't want Trump on your ballot in November, this is what you do now. You vote for Nikki Haley now. And that doesn't mean am I endorsing or supporting her? No, but if you want him to lose, that's the one to go with. And if you want Joe Biden to lose, that's your only choice. Okay? So if you want to stop Donald Trump, vote for Nikki Haley in the primaries. And especially if you're in the early states. The earlier, the better. because if she gets wins early, that will be crushing to Trump's campaign. And you see it I've seen it so many times in my life now. Every 4 years when these things begin, it's always, oh, so-and-so has an advantage until the voting starts. And after New Hampshire and Iowa, well, we're going to have two people. I don't see any scenario where Ron DeSantis continues or Ramaswamy continues past New Hampshire. Thanks for the balloons, whoever did that. Right? I just don't see it. If DeSantis comes in third on Monday night, this Monday, I know he's poured in so much money and time, and there are so many supporters who love this guy, allegedly, and tens of millions of dollars he spent. If he finishes third on Monday, he's out on Tuesday. It's over. In fact, if he even finishes close to Haley, basically if they tie for second, round about the same numbers, he's still out. He has to finish a strong. They're saying it's a given that Trump's going to win Iowa because that's just the way they go. Fine, whatever. Let's say that's true. And again, but even saying that feeds the beast, right? It feeds the narrative that he's going to win. Well, he's not going to win if nobody votes for him. Polls are interesting things, especially to people like Donald Trump, right? They never believe the polls when they go against him. They say, don't believe the polls. But then when they're for him, never hear the don't believe the poll thing. Anyways, so if Trump does win Iowa, depends on who's second. If Haley is second and she's a strong second, like not too far behind Trump, that is an excellent sign for her. And that means she can win New Hampshire outright. Anyway, so DeSantis needs to finish strong second himself in Iowa and then either probably win New Hampshire himself to continue. But South Carolina, if the third state comes, Nevada is just weird. But if we get to South Carolina and those three are still there, I'd be shocked. Probably you're going to be down to Haley and Trump as of South Carolina. And you think, oh, well, Trump's going to obviously win South Carolina. It's in the South. But guess what? Nikki Haley was the governor of South Carolina. So she can, if not win outright, make it very close. So, and then this will drag on. If she does that, if she, let's say, wins New Hampshire and either wins or comes close in South Carolina, this thing is on for the long term now. It's going to drag on all summer, all spring, and into the summer. That means if that happens, no matter what state you live in, you're going to have a voice. Your vote will matter as a Republican. Now, not all states require you to be a registered Republican to vote in a Republican primary. For example, most do, but for example, New Hampshire, which is going to happen in a couple days, they don't require. You can vote in either primary, regardless of your party. You can't just vote in both. You can vote one time in one of the primaries, but you can be independent. You can be a Democrat and vote in the Republican and vice versa and whatever. I'm pretty sure. But I know you don't have to be registered Republican. It's at least Republican or independent. You can do Republican primary. Anyway, the point is, don't be dissuaded if you're not. Check your state's rules and laws on that. Okay? So the message is, and that's the scenario, right? It's Haley, DeSantis, or Trump. That's it. And this is the way to keep Trump off the ballot, not court decisions, not the media, not whatever conspiracy theory you want to invent. It's just keeping him off the ballot because the party said so. We, the voters, said no. So I'm going to vote in my state's Republican primary for Nikki Haley. That's where it's come down to now. So I've decided that. I don't care who knows. That's the bottom line. Now, and that's out of necessity. I want to beat Joe Biden and I want to beat Trump. She's the only one left who can do it. So there you go. And I'd be proud to vote for a woman, by the way. So all these haters who say, "Oh, the Republicans hate women. They would never. That's why they didn't vote for Hillary." Bogus. Okay. The 2016 election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump was the worst candidates ever put forward in American history. I told my family once who are very big Democrats in New Jersey, I said, the reason why Hillary lost, or no, I called Donald Trump the second worst candidate in the history of the United States. And of course, they're agreeing. Oh, yeah, great. Who's the first? I said Hillary Clinton. I believe that. That's why he won in the first place, because he had literally the worst candidate in the history of the United States against him. Anyways, so that's what you want to do. You want to stop Trump? That's how you do it. Now, if it doesn't work and he wins anyway, because he's got a lot of zombies out there and people believe stupid things like Christians need to vote for Trump. I'm sorry, that's just incredibly ignorant and blasphemous. If he ends up being the nominee because you put him there, you Republican voters, me, etc., we the voters have no one else to blame now. No matter all this stuff that happened, all this criminality, all this trying to overthrow the government, all this stuff, it's not going to matter if we vote for him. And so now he's there in November. Okay, well, I can't vote for Biden. And again, like, this is for people who I'm not trying to convince you not to vote for Trump, but if you've already gotten there or are close to there, this is the way you avoid it. Okay, so let's say the Republicans nominate Trump anyways. And that's not going to be official officially not till the convention in July or August. August, I guess, maybe July. I think August. Anyways, around there. So it's not official till then, but he'll have the enough what they call delegates, basically votes from all the states to win or not to win, probably in June. So we'll know from that point on. But okay, so now we got great. I got a choice between two major parties that I cannot vote for. Trump and Biden are out. If they're the two main guys, I'm either not voting, which I really don't want to do. But it's okay if you don't, by the way. It's not in the Bible. It's not your holy duty. It has nothing to do with Christianity at all, by the way. You voting or not voting. But I like to participate in the country, in the process and stuff. So I can't vote for Biden or Trump. What do I do? Well, we're going to have at least one other choice. And that choice is pretty funny. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. All right. Yes, he's kind of nutso on some things, but he's serious about running, and he's got money, and he's got the best name recognition you could ask for in politics. Kennedy. He's going to give it a shot, and he's going to get on the ballot, and he's going to be a third party that is going to do very well. It's possible, if Trump does get the nomination, that there will be another third party. I guess there would be a fourth party at that point. Another candidate, possibly, from the non-Trump Republican side. I don't know if this will be worthwhile, but there's talk about it for sure. It'll either be Larry Hogan, if you know he used to be the governor of Maryland. Is he still? No, I don't think so. He's a good candidate. I almost wish he would have run in the regular primaries. But anyways, Larry Hogan, Liz Cheney. I'd vote for her too, by the way. Instantly. I think that's pretty much it. As far as another person being put up to run with any kind of, Cheney, she's got name recognition. She's obviously hated by the Trump people. That's a good thing for her. if she were to run. So anyway, another group, I think it's called Country First, No Labels. I don't know, one of those things. They might put up somebody like Hogan or Cheney. So there's potentially 4 people on your ballot in November. There might be more. There might be the Green Party and Socialists, whatever. But actual people who are serious or who would be, get more than like 5% or more than 2%, that's what we're talking about. So it's possible that your only choice may be RFK Jr. if you're a conservative Christian, and that's pretty scary. But that's what may come down to. And if the current data about him is right, the support polling and stuff, he might be. It's possible if he's the only third party, he might well be turn out to be the best performing third party in the history of the United States. He might get over 20% of the vote. Ross Perot got 19, I believe. So he might actually do some serious damage, because if you're at that level, you're 20%, that's nationally. But if you get the right states among those 20%, if you get the right amount of delegates in there, you could basically no one's going to have enough to win on election night. It's possible. And then it goes to the really tumultuous backup plan of the Constitution, which is it goes to the House of Representatives. And here we go. Then kind of all bets are off. So that's how we stop them. Again, yes, as a conservative Christian who loves America, I am not a fake Christian or a Satanist. I am not a Democrat or a secret liberal or whatever you want to say. Never have, never will be. So now that Christie's out, it's if you don't want Trump, it's Nikki Haley, period. That's your path. All right. Okay, now let's see what some beautiful, wonderful feedback we've got here. There's already some spam on. I'm actually streaming to Twitch right now also, which I hardly ever do, but there's a reason why, because there's nothing but spam and hate there, and I got a spam. Okay, let's see. I said I wouldn't do this, but I just want to show you what we're dealing with if you don't see this comment. GR Scuba Diver on YouTube says, as a Christian, we do need Trump. Need in caps. That is blasphemy. Blasphemy. I don't care what name you put at the end of that sentence. It's blasphemy. You do not ever tell anyone ever again that you need to vote for somebody as a Christian. Never. Don't say you need him or need her. You need Jesus, period. Don't ever do that. Like I said, I didn't want to get angry, but that's ridiculous. I don't care who your person is. You've been brainwashed. You've been deceived by the devil. If you say things like that, we need Trump. Get out of here. Oy. Hi, Bone Servant. Dear friend. Okay. I don't see who would be best to vote for. Oh, this must have been before I started my screed there. A fighter or one who stands by his word. Well, you're not getting one who stands by his word. What is that? What the heck? What's going on with my phone? I didn't tell that to happen. I don't know what that was. Okay. Anyways. Right. So, well, we know Donald Trump is a criminal and a liar. So you don't need that. He doesn't stand by his word. That's for sure. People like that are not. It's not just Donald Trump. Dictators the world over think that way. It's all about me and my power, and I'm never going to leave. And if he gets it back, there's going to be trouble. Hey, yo, Tiki, what's up? Tiki says on YouTube, DeSantis knows how to throw the levers of government and shrink the Leviathan, but nobody wants him, Tiki. He's not likable. He comes across as an amateur on the national stage. He'll have another shot 4 years from now, but it's not this time. Corrosion is saying something that's not true. Trump won every district with in-person voting and won every district with mail-in voting. Biden won. That is so not true. You know, every district, every congressional district has been broken down, and that's so false. So false. So false. I didn't vote for Trump and I use mail-in voting. What does that make me? Give me a break. Come on. You do you, Uncle John says. Uncle John 14:6. Hey, it's my verse, baby. John 14:6. I told my class this past Sunday, if CNN or whoever else, Fox News, ever sticks a microphone in my face for whatever reason, on any purpose, it just happens one day, I'll be sure to say John 14:6 first and foremost. I mean the actual verse, not just the chapter and verse number. Coming in late, but Trump's little ad last week is nothing short of blasphemous. Oh, well, you're talking. I didn't even watch that because I knew I don't want to be angry. You're right. Something about, I don't know if he made it or somebody made it and he's promoting it about, God choosing him and this crap. I mean, it's bad. Like, again, as a Christian, I don't care what name you put in there. Do not peddle this garbage that God chose this person. We choose him. Or that this is God's man for the hour. Enough of that. Stop it. And why aren't you hard? One of my people might come up and say, why are you not hard on Joe Biden? Because the evangelical church, Christians of my persuasion, have no love for Joe Biden. They're not voting for him. They're not supporting. They're not having dreams and visions about Joe Biden becoming a president. They didn't have making prophecies about him. That all failed, by the way. Right? This is not an issue for the church, Joe Biden. It's an issue for the fallen church, for the ones who say they're Christians and go to church twice a week, and mostly the big churches couldn't be bothered to make disciples, of course, but that's not an issue. The Christian conservative side, my side, the one who did January 6th, the ones who put Trump in office, the ones who are always having dreams and visions and say God chose this or that. This is a Trump issue with us. So that's why. Anyways, but yeah, that ad was, again, I didn't even see it because I just saw a little blurb about him. Like, forget this. T-Rex says, I'm an independent, down with them big parties. Yeah, Mr. Trump's debating style is quite immature. But that's what you get. I actually did. So Ross Perot ran for president twice in 92 and 96, right? To oppose Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush, first George Bush, and Bob Dole. I voted for Perot, actually, whenever I was my first time ever voting in a presidential election. So yes, I was in this since, senior year of high school, with this stuff. So I didn't have a problem voting for Perot, even though my Republican friend wouldn't let me hear the end of it. Oh, you're just causing this and you're throwing your vote away and blah, blah, blah. I guess that just kind of steeled me for the future because I'm like, that's bogus. I'll vote for who I want. It was, I have a clear conscience. Whether he wins or not, it's not my concern. Anyways. Bond Servant says, it feels like Minnesota Jesse Ventura situation. You remember that? Jesse Jesse Ventura was a wrestler and became kind of famous as a wrestler. Then he became like a super libertarian guy who figured he'd run for governor of Minnesota because he was popular in Minnesota, and he gave it a shot and he won. And he got, I don't know if he got kind of weird, but he was always kind of weird in a bad way. But anyway, that's what you're referring to, I think, with RFK Jr., right? Like he would be Jesse Ventura. Uncle Pepe on YouTube, if obviously did not hear the beginning of the program here, the podcast, and doesn't read the bottom of the screen, don't use a Christian channel to preach your politics. What's my politics? I'm just telling you how to defeat Donald Trump if you want to. That's not, how am I preaching anything? So, hey, you know what? I'll use the platform that God gave me and that have been extended to me in a wise way, and this is one of those wise ways. We just disagree on that. That's fine. Yeah. Oops. Bondservant says on X, I pushed back on Trump because of God's chosen thing. Yeah, that's what Tiki had said. That, that has been there for a little bit now, right? A couple years now, several years before 2020 even. God's man. I'm independent too, T-Rex. Yeah, I don't know how in your state. I know your state, but I don't know if you want us to talk about it. I'm not sure what the rules are there as far as you have to be registered or not to vote in the primary, but I definitely encourage you to do that. Tiki says third parties are a deep state favorite. Split the vote and get a D or an R that's not going to do what they want. Well, that's a very cynical way to look at it, friend. I definitely don't agree with that. It cuts both ways. Deep state. Well, who does the deep state want to win this time? You mean to make sure a Democrat or Republican gets in? Well, the only way that doesn't happen is if you get a third party. You want to screw over the deep state, get a successful third party candidate. Don't blame them, whoever they are, for putting up a third party. Blame the voters for not going with the third party. They're the voters are the one who keep perpetrating and continuing the two-party system. If that's really the goal is to kind of put a hole in the two-party system, which I wouldn't mind, then vote a third-party person in. It's our fault, not deep state. It's our fault, the voters. Hey, Remnant returns. Bless the Lord. On X, chiming in and says Trump lost me big when he went on national TV and lied about the bombing of the Kurds by Erdogan. He did that a lot. He did that a lot. He did a lot of lying. Still does. Primary is the only problem. Oh, as an independent, yeah. Again, I don't know what your state's laws are about that, but some don't require you to be registered. You can hit one or the other, just so you know. But some don't. Some are. A closed primary state means you have to be registered as a member of that party for X amount of time before the election, like usually a couple months. So look into it. At least your voice is, you're making your voice heard. Bondservant says, I'm registered as an independent and get ballots from both parties by mail. So we mostly do mail in. However, I go out of my way to drop my ballot off at the downtown voting place. Well, that's cool. If you get ballots for both, is that primary elections also? Because that's the stage we're in now. Well, you said from both parties, so I guess that's exactly what you mean. That's cool. I like that. Oh, and talk about, I really appreciate when the folks chime in and, take the time to appreciate getting educated or talking things in a rational, mature adult manner. And you chime in with stuff like that. It's just, sorry for the audio people. Somebody said, not only loser is the only comment, but all caps and in 4 different syllables, with the dashes. Le, who's, her. Very, very, very productive, Wild Rover. God's really got you on, you zing me good. This country is going to get the government it deserves. It's been getting the government it deserves, Tiki. The Constitution was designed for immoral people. I mean, that's not in the Constitution, of course. That's a commentary on it. But, I mean, honestly, that's great to want to believe that. And I know the founders did want to believe that. But anyway, the point is, we've been getting, everyone we get is what we deserve. That's what you call self-determination. My state has modified primaries. I would say independent in a closed primary state, though. Yeah. Modified meaning you could do it. Yeah, that's cool if you can. Yeah. I think T-Rex says, I think Wild River may be quoting Trump, though. I mean, forgive me if I took that as a slight against me, but shouldn't be just calling people names regardless of who they are, right? You can, Tiki says, you can tell who was brought up on Jerry Springer, meaning the people who grew up watching it. They want their politics to look like it. Kind of. Just my view, the long view, the 30,000 foot view on it is just most people are not engaged in the primary process. That's what I kept seeing over and over again when I was in politics. It's that it is a monumental task to get people involved before November. They just want to see a name on a ballot and, oh man, this guy sucks and that guy sucks, but I guess I'll just check this box because they're of a D or they have an R and that's good enough for me. That's how we get garbage. If you don't like your choices in November, you got to change them because you can. Remember, what was it? I don't know. All these examples, every cycle this happens. I remember 4 years or before Trump ever was nominated at all, it was Jeb Bush, right? He was a shoo-in. That was definitely happening. Or Rick Perry, right? Why even bother going to having these things? It's already over. Or Beto O'Rourke for the Democrats. Or, you name it. It goes on and on and on. How the expected person to be before anybody voted turned out to be nothing. Right? Oh, it was a slight against me. Very good. Thank you, man. I pray for you. And bye-bye. Anchor Down. Hey, Anchor Down. What's going on? On YouTube says, getting into politics will bring the fanatical people out. Well, I know, I was in it. Jesus had issues with the Sadducees and the Pharisees, right? Yep, he did. Just joined. Hope that's not super off topic. Nope. No, you're good. You're good. You good. No, I mean, after and Maranatha to you, my friend. No, after I got out of the game, as it were, after 2012, those scriptures really came alive to me when Jesus was talking about that, and how he obviously had most of his harsh words for the Pharisees, who were the conservative Republicans. I mean, conservatives, yes, what we would call a Republican today, because they had God's word. They handled it very carefully. Like, they knew what they had, and they treasured it, and they thought they were serving God, and everything they did was to honor God, and didn't care what anyone thought. That's Pharisees. The Sadducees were the liberals. They were the progressives. They were the ones who wanted to change the Bible. They were the ones who ignored the part about the resurrection. Jesus said, you don't even know the scriptures. And so it is. Liberals today don't, in large part. They just want to ignore it or make stuff up or have their own version or whatever. They're not really careful with the Holy Spirit or God's word at all. Those are your liberal Democrats, basically. Right? Change on the fly, living document, that whole thing. So, yeah, even though Jesus had definitely no nice things to say about the Sadducees, it was very, very limited in number compared to the very large number of words he had for the Pharisees. And they were political parties. The Pharisees and Sadducees were political parties. You had to be a member of that party to be in the Sanhedrin, to be in the ruling government. You had to, this is your party. And there were others too, but those are the two big ones. So nothing really changes. And that's why I am more passionate about talking to conservative Christians about not electing an antichrist again, and what to do about it. Because just like the Lord, he knows this is, God's people are going to be tricked and fooled and compromised, and his name is going to be sullied if we're not clear. And we're not willing to go against the grain. And the scripture that this morning that came to me, like in Jeremiah, if you're not willing to, how are you going to run against the horses if you can't do this? You know what I mean? If we can't stand against Donald Trump, how are you going to stand against the Antichrist? It's a joke. And not just Donald Trump, the person. I mean, the whole, the pressure, the social pressure about it, your friends and family hating you for it, for getting mean comments on YouTube like I just did. If you can't deal with all that, you're not gonna do well at the end of the age. Bond Services, years ago in Minnesota, I was very active in the Republican Party. It went downhill when people started interjecting Christian values, yet no one lived by them. Ding, ding, ding. Because you get called out on it. You're going to say Christian this, Christian that, and turns out you're just a liar like the rest of them, or you're having affairs and you're being immoral and you're all of a sudden overlooking all the character issues because you want your guy or gal in there because they have an R by their name, right? That's right. That's called hypocrisy. I'm old enough to remember, and so are you, Bond Servant and T-Rex. Even though I'm older than T-Rex, just want that out there. I remember very well the Bill Clinton years and how basically the Republican conservative side was revitalized by that era because he was a total... His character was very bad. Right? So that was like a rallying cry. We never vote for bad character, no matter how good he is on other things or might be in this thing. He talks a good game, but at the end of the day, character matters. And that's where the whole Christian coalition came from, which is all political, right? Remember that? Ralph Reed, Pat Robertson, Now it's called Faith and Freedom Coalition, which, again, I was a part of that, and I very, very much regret it. Anyways, that was back then. It was character that mattered, and all of a sudden now it doesn't anymore. Now, you can get over that. It's just the way they all behave. He's just saying this. We got to vote for him anyway because he's God's man. Get out of here. You're not a Christian. Okay. I'm glad we're getting some good feedback on here from you guys. Appreciate that. In a semi-open T-Rex is a semi-open primary, voters can still help choose a candidate for any party they want and do not have to officially affiliate. Great. Okay, cool. That's like New Hampshire, basically. But voters do have to cast a party-specific ballot when they vote. Right. So you can only pick one or the other. Yeah. So you say, okay, I'm independent, but I'm going to vote in the Republican election today, the primary election. Okay, that's cool. Or I would just want to vote with the Democrats. Okay, you're good. You can't do both. But if you declare one, then yes, today you're voting for that. Yeah. Yeah, Sadducees far left, the Pharisees far right. Yeah. Yep. Hello, C, just C on YouTube, just the letter C. Said, I'm thinking of Sesame Street right now. Sorry. Says, very religious, this person. Who are you talking about? Me? This person? I'm a pastor, so I guess I'm very religious. How are we going to bring in the most affected people to Christ? He used Cyrus and others. LOL. So few laborers. I don't get it. How are we going to bring affected people to Christ? Well, not with elections. It's called the gospel. And the way you live and going out to the place who don't know Jesus and making him known there and planting churches and making disciples. That's how we win people to Christ. And we show them love and mercy. Nothing to do with elections, friend. No voting necessary for that. And in fact, it's really got nothing to do with it at all because, at least in this country, we get obsessed and focus on nothing else besides the elections and politics, and we leave the gospel in the garbage. We got no time for that no more. Bonsarm says, I can go back to the Carter days, and the whole born again thing was front and center. Yeah, that's the 70s, obviously. I just appeared on the scene right before Jimmy Carter. Actually, Gerald Ford, the little blip with Gerald Ford was when I was born. Bond Services, that's Colorado also, meaning you can declare for one or the other. That's cool. DX trying to outage me there. Oldest prehistoric creature. I don't know. Maybe one of your relatives. I usually hate political talks, but this is a great conversation. Well, look at that. We're kingdom citizens before anything in the world. That's correct. And we best remember that. Okay. And again, like I'm telling you, I'm not telling you not to vote look, you can't vote. You cannot if you don't have any choices that you think God will be pleased about. If your conscience is searing you, you don't do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. Regardless of what many Christian conservatives will tell you, voting is not required. It is not Christian. It is not required by the Lord. It doesn't mean anything about you if you vote or not. Anyways. Yes, but we're kingdom first. We're just travelers here. We're strangers in this land. We just happen to be in this country that's pretty amazing a lot of the times, and we don't get hurt or persecuted. And by the way, Despite all my well-meaning brothers and sisters out there saying this is the end of America if Joe Biden's reelected, we've had 4 years now, or almost 4 years of Joe Biden, 3 years. My Christian faith has not been curtailed. My ability to practice my Christianity has not for 1 millimeter been affected. I am totally free to preach the gospel and do this right now, same as I was when Trump was in office. Not one thing has happened. Not one thing. So let's stop lying. I'm not saying it's going to be great or that things can't change, but let's not exaggerate what actually exists. What actually exists is the exact same atmosphere under Trump. You are judging someone like him, Trump, but there are many others affected by the devil. Okay, so he's one of them affected by the devil, right? Don't be a repellent fellow believer. What does that mean? You're supposed to tell the truth, and you might sword. I'm like, Jesus said he's going to be a sword to divide, and telling the truth will do that. Look, I'm telling you, this is not an episode about telling you why not to vote for Donald Trump. I'm just saying, if you're already there, this is how you do it. Okay? If you want to know why you shouldn't have to begin with, when I told y'all in 2016 not to do it, there's a blog about that. You can go look it up. wingsoftheeagle.com/blog. I told you in 2020, I wrote another one that said you still shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. No Christian should, but he's going to win anyway. Oh, no, that was 2016. I knew he was going to win. God didn't tell me from on high in a dream he was going to win. I could just read the tea leaves, so to speak, right? I know politics. I knew he would defeat the terrible Hillary Clinton in 2016. And in 2020, I again said these are the reasons why you shouldn't vote for him. So go look at that. But this is not that today. This is someone who knows that he's bad news. What do you do about it? Of the two evils, choose neither. Charles Spurgeon. That's a great quote. Did he actually say it? I don't know, but I'll go with it. The sentiment's true, obviously. Or it's basically what? The lesser of two evils. I'll take no evil, or something like that. Yeah, that's my voting. That's my voting MO, right? That's my motivation. Don't vote for evil. It's not that hard. It's really not. I don't think Nikki Haley's evil, and she certainly hasn't shown anything in that regard yet. So that's why I'll have no problem voting for her. While much is being exposed, is that what that means? We are still free? Yeah, so far so good. If this nation's about to go down, maybe it will be a serious enemy attack, I think. Hardly anyone's ready for something like that. Yeah, I agree with that. It's not going to be an internal political, other than, once you get the ball rolling on Civil War talk and about taking up arms and taking out opponents and being immune from prosecution, like a certain Mr. T is talking about, that could drag you out pretty quick into bringing down the country thing. I mean, honestly, guys, the country is already over. It's all over, but the shouting, as we say, it doesn't, right? Between the whole, what happened in 2020, and lying about it to this day, and people still believe it. And so you have no trust in elections. You have no trust in governments. You have no trust in courts. The foundation's broken. And then even with this UAP situation, it's proven that you don't have to be elected. The real leaders are not even elected. They're in the military and the intelligence side. If there's secrets that they don't want to come out, no matter what we elect people to find, they're not going to find it. The country's over. I mean, as in a current form, as in terms of the Constitution, it's already done. There's no separation of powers if you could skirt that. hope it's accurate quote by Spurgeon. Yeah, I mean, again, it's close enough, right? You're allowed to abstain when the situation counts for, of course, and you're allowed, quote unquote. It's not a God thing. There's 0 commandments to vote. God is not going to put that on your record in heaven as a sin. It's not a sin to never vote. You're just as much a Christian, believer, genuine, born again, son or daughter of God if you never vote in your life. It has nothing to do with your salvation. Nothing to do with getting a crown after your time on earth. Nothing at all. Rand Paul, the complexities surrounding this issue. Yeah. Rand Paul, I liked that guy for a minute too. Back in 2016, until the debates came around and like, this guy's nonsense. For the last election, I did witness votes on TV switch with identical numbers flip from Trump to Biden. Not lying, I did see that part where there was no switching, bond servant. There wasn't. I mean, that's one thing that if we're taking an honest look at it, and again, I watch elections every time they happen. There was nothing different in 2020 other than it wasn't wrong or illegal or anything like that, but because of COVID and because of the millions and millions of more people voting by mail or before early voting, which has been a thing forever, a long time, but it really came to prominence in 2020. A very logical thing happened, which appeared, if you were not watching, if you didn't know what was happening, it might appear that there was a sudden swing from Trump to Biden, but that's because the votes that are coming in on election night itself at the polling stations are counted separately from the ones that were in the mail. And so when the ones that had come in early were announced, the majority of them were for Biden. So yes, it appeared that all of a sudden Biden made a huge leap or jump, and the percent might have on your TV might have switched from, I don't know, 52-48 Trump to 52-48 Biden, just like that. That's only because a big lump of batch had just come in all at once from the early voting, and they were announced and they were tallied and they were confirmed by the state. That's what you saw. There was no cheating in 2020. There just wasn't. And Trump's own people said there wasn't. He actually hired a guy to go find it, like the mafia. Go find this for me. I'm not talking about he called Georgia and said, find me these 10,000 votes that I need. Not that. He actually hired a person who did this for a living and said, go find the irregularities. Go find me the proof that there was switching of votes. And he looked. And he came back and said, I couldn't find anything. There was nothing that would have affected anything. So it just didn't happen. Anyways. So that's the episode, guys. That's the Unsealed. Yeah. In fact, I'm trying to find a link right now. Election investigator or something. Here it is. Voter data expert hired by Trump campaign says 2020 election was not stolen. Ken Block, whom the Trump campaign hired in 2020 to find voter fraud in the election, stated unequivocally that the 2020 election was not stolen and there was no evidence of voter fraud sufficient to change the outcome of any election. any state in the election. There's the link in the comments. Yep. And of course, that never came out because he didn't want you to know that it didn't work out, because he wanted to continue to lie about it and say that he lost, that he didn't lose. At every turn, the opportunity was whoever would find something out that would prove anything, because they had court cases, remember? Dozens of cases in courts, in state courts. They say, all right, we're willing to listen. Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? Not one piece. They just made it up because Mr. Strongman had to stay in office by any means necessary. That's the truth. Anyway, let's not go through that again. Okay, so that's why if you know Trump can't go back anywhere near the White House, then defeat him now. Stop him in the primaries. If you care about that and you're a Christian, this is the time to do it. Do something about it. Okay? I love you all, guys. Till next time, this is Pastor Manti. Yes, Pastor Manti. Saying that do the wise thing. Stay close with the Lord. Stay in prayer. Stay in the Word of God. Bless Him in everything you do. Pray without ceasing. Give of yourself. Take up your cross. And follow Him, because no matter what country we're in, this is not our home. Amen? All right, guys. Till next time, for Unsealed, au revoir. That means goodbye.